All right, thank you everybody. So as mentioned, I'm going to talk today about XDC Network and a little bit about what we're doing in trade finance, and then talk about the Web3athon. If you're a developer, if you're interested, how you can get engaged. All right, so jump into a little bit about the network. XDC Network is a EVM-compatible Layer 1 proof-of-stake network. Mainnet has been live since 2019. It's secure, scalable, highly efficient. Because it is a fork of Ethereum and it's proof-of-stake, we get to have really nice technicals, so 2-second transaction time, near zero gas fees, over 2,000 transactions per second, and one that's not up there, highly energy efficient. The XDC network consumes about 7,400 megawatts of energy per year, which is about what an average household in the US consumes. So it's nice green tech. A little bit about the network stats here. Currently we have about 885,000 active accounts. That's a growing number. It grows exponentially year over year. 108 master nodes out of a pool of 300 available nodes. Those 108 are validators. The rest of the nodes are standby nodes, and so if a validator goes down, it rotates out, and a standby rotates in. To own or operate a master node, you have to stake 10 million XDC, which helps to secure the network with that high barrier to entry. Currently, we have about 13,000 smart contracts deployed to the network, and we've seen about 575% growth year over year. Our market cap at all-time high was $2 billion with a max daily volume of 48 million. And currently we have $2.7 billion staked with a total of 4.1 million TVL. I want to talk a little bit about XDC 2.0. So right now we operate what's called XDC Delegated Proof of Stake. In Q2 this year, our protocol team is going to release 2.0, and some features that will be released with 2.0 are state-of-the-art Byzantine security, going to leverage the hot stuff protocol, which is used by Facebook. Super fast transaction finalization, so 3 blocks for finalization, 2 seconds per block, so we're looking at 6 seconds in total for finality. And built-in forensic monitoring, which is cool on-chain forensic. When bad actors are detected, they can be punished by being stricken from the network, which is important because remember, you have to stake 10 million XDC to operate a node, and it's a really powerful incentive to dissuade bad actors from trying to attack the network. And another interesting feature that's coming with 2.0 is XDC subnets. Subnets are private ledgers, so if an entity or an enterprise wants to build out their solution on blockchain, but they don't want to have exposure to a public network and the volatility and risk that may be associated with it, they can actually deploy their own subnet, build their dApp out on the subnet, and it will inherit all the security inherent with the mainnet. And so you get to take advantage of the protocol and the hot stuff as part of your subnet, so that security inherits downward, and you're able to have your transaction state on mainnet as well. So for people looking for that privacy, for that sovereignty, you get a standalone customizable blockchain, which is wholly owned by the customer. Now XDC, so in my mind, XDC has 2 really interesting value propositions, one of which is trade finance. The other is the enthusiastic and ever-growing community who have embraced this technology. The trade finance use case is powerful. It sets it apart from other layer 1s that are out there in the world. Back in 2019, the XDC network became a member of the TFD initiative, the Trade Finance Distribution Initiative. We are currently the only layer 1 blockchain that is in this initiative, and if you see up there, it's made up of banks that you've probably heard of, HSBC, ING, Standard Chartered, non-bank originators, insurance providers, tech providers. It's a group of entities who are looking to increase efficiencies around global trade finance, which is a really nice use case for blockchain. As part of that initiative, in September of 2019, Zenfin, which is an entity that builds on the XDC network that's solely focused on trade finance, collaborated with TradeTech, which is a non-bank originator from the TFD initiative, to create the first NFT that was backed by trade finance assets. And so there is a a finance company called Accelerated Payments that works with trade tech, and they were able to take these invoices, tokenize them, and then use them to back NFTs, which regulated investors could then own. And what makes this interesting is it's kind of the first entire soup to nuts, all the way from the invoice side to the regulated investor side, all being carried out with one tech stack. Last fall, Layer 2 from an entity called XDC Tech created what's called the Trade token. The Trade token is the first security token backed by trade finance assets. And the way that it works, it's based on invoice factoring. They'll buy invoices at a discount from an exporter. They'll have a basket of these invoices, and those invoices will back this security token Trade. Regulated investors are able to purchase Trade, which exposes them to the yield generated by the difference in the discounted invoice price and the full price of the invoice when it's paid. Again, this is a security token, so it's heavily regulated, and it's not open to everybody in the world. But these are signs of growth and adoption in the real world that are happening and have been happening for the last year and a half, 2 years on the XDC network. So now I want to dive into the Web3athon, which is why we're here. So one thing I focus on, so I'm co-founder of XDC Community, is really engaging with developers, educating them on the XDC network, making sure that they have the tools at their disposal that they need to be successful. And one way we found that's really great to engage with new devs and onboard them to the network is by offering bounties and offering hackathons. And so we've partnered with Consensus to offer a grant for this Web3athon. It is a $50,000 grant, so the best overall submission that's built on XDC can win up to the $50,000. The award is going to be provided on a milestone basis, and so the entity that wins will receive the $10,000 grant up front, and then they'll work with the XDC team to develop a series of milestones, and those milestones are going to gate further funding from the grant. All these awards are going to be paid out in XDC. And we're going to really focus these milestones on how the product that they're developing is working to improve the network. So each project team will need to provide the following deliverables at minimum. So project write-up description. Of course, all the projects must be built on or integrate with the XDC network. We have a test net called Apothem, so you can deploy to Apothem or mainnet. A working MVP application for XDC that's publicly available, the judges can interact with and use as part of their judging. Showcase video that demonstrates the application that's been created, and a GitHub repository that's either publicly available or has admitted the judges so they can look at the source code. And a business plan and a product roadmap. Now, a couple ideas. We want people to be creative. We want people to look at where Web3 is going and try to build solutions that are accessible to people, that increase TVL in the network, that maybe focus on real-world asset tokenization. Applications that play well with our trade finance focus makes sense. Anybody looking to build a dApp that wants exposure to international trade finance, it would make sense to look at XDC Network as a place to come build. So you can be adjacent to that technology. Looking at supply chain management, again, all these things that deal with real-world use cases, those are the types of dApps that we want to focus on. A couple of resources that are available, and these are all going to be, when you register, I have a slide at the end about registering for the hackathon. When you register, these will all be available to you so you can click on them. But we have a dev portal. So the XDC community has created a dev portal, docs.xdc.community, and inside that dev portal is information about XDC Network, just in general, but also a lot of how-tos and tutorials on how to build and deploy code for different situations with different tool sets. So no matter what you're familiar with, if you've developed for Ethereum or any EVM network, you can come look at our documentation and pretty quickly understand how you modify or adapt your knowledge to be able to be successful on our network. We also have a subset that's focused on the tools that are available to builders on our network. And we have a fantastic dev forum, xdc.dev, where you can go and you can ask questions and engage with other builders and get support there. Other socials, so we have a Discord server that's really dev focused. So between xdc.dev and our Discord, you'll be able to engage with devs and ask questions, get the feedback that you need. And you can follow us on Twitter at XDC_community just to keep up to date with what's going on with the hackathon. You can also engage with us there. And if you're here today, stop by booth 904 and feel free to ask any questions as well. One of our ecosystem partners is also taking part in this hackathon, so I wanted to give some information about them and talk about what they're doing. So Civic is a decentralized identity management system, and what they do is they make available tokens that are tied to a user's identity using different methods that builders can then leverage to have proof of identity that ties into the dApp that they're developing. So Civic is putting up to $10,000 in bounties as well, in conjunction with the $50,000 that XDC Network has put up. The dApps may only apply for one of the prizes, so they've sectioned it out into two different prizes. There's a $2,000 prize for smart contract and front-end integration of Civic Pass SDKs, and there's also just a front-end only integration with Civic Pass. For Civic, similar requirements to XDC. You must do the integration with the XDC network in Civic Pass. It must be fully functional with an MVP, a video demonstration that the judges can use to evaluate the product, publicly available GitHub repository that the judges can use to evaluate the source code, and a plan or a business model for moving to production. Example ideas for builders that are going to integrate with Civic. Integration of their Civic Pass CAPTCHA into a dApp for botting prevention during a mint or account creation, or integrate Civic Pass uniqueness, one user, one wallet, into a dApp to help prevent Sybil attacks. If you go to Civic's website, which is here at the bottom, you can see they have several different gateways that make different authentication methods available. They also offer custom and hybrid approaches. So you can work with them to develop the solution that you need. On top of that, they have their own documentation site, docs.civic.com. And a subset of that is an integration guide. They have an integration guide focused on integrating with XDC. And so if user identities is an important part of the dApp that you want to build, I encourage you to go and check out Civic. And you can work with both XDC Network and Civic, our ecosystem partner, to provide your solution and apply for both grants. And lastly, to wrap up, join or register for the hackathon. So it started April 17th. It ends on June 1st. There's the URL at the bottom there. When you go to that URL to register, you can access hyperlinks for all the material that I posted in my slides. And to date, as of this morning, there's about 5,700 people registered. And so that's the growth. That's all I have. If you're interested to learn more about the XDC network or about the hackathon, please stop by booth 904 or reach out to us on Twitter or Telegram or Discord. Be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.